So, we are getting incredibly close to the 20th anniversary of the iPhone, and let me tell you right now, this is not going to be your standard yearly upgrade where they just move the camera lens half an inch. Apple is completely tearing up the rulebook on what a smartphone is actually supposed to look like. If the latest leaks are true, the upcoming iPhone 20 is the ultimate dream device Apple has been trying to secretly build since Steve Jobs walked on stage back in 2007. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out what feels like a solid, glowing block of glass. That is right, reports show an iPhone built almost entirely out of glass, where the screen does not abruptly stop at the edges. The display is expected to flow completely over the sides, blending seamlessly into the back panel, meaning you will not see any ugly metal borders or thick frames staring back at you. And here's where it gets crazy. Those physical volume and power buttons you click every single day, they might be completely wiped out. Apple is swapping them for pressure-sensitive touch areas built directly into the glass itself. Xiaomi actually played with this exact concept a while back with their Mix Alpha phone, but Apple seems totally ready to bring this wild sci-fi concept to the mainstream. But taking away the physical buttons opens up a massive, confusing problem nobody is really talking about. Think about it for a quick second. If your screen completely freezes up, and there are absolutely no actual buttons to hold down, how in the world do you force restart the phone? That right there is exactly what Apple engineers are sweating over right now in their labs. And speaking of massive engineering nightmares, having a phone wrapped entirely in glass means it actually has to survive living in the real world with clumsy people like us. To fix this disaster waiting to happen, Apple is reportedly testing a totally new type of structural glass. This is not just for making the phone look shiny and pretty, it is strictly designed to take a beating and absorb nasty impacts, so your premium anniversary phone does not shatter into a million pieces the first time you drop it. You cannot just drastically change the outside hardware without changing the inside software. Because the screen wraps around the sides now, iOS itself is getting a massive visual overhaul to match. The software interface will stretch all the way across those curved edges, making the whole phone feel like one magic, continuous surface. But what about the front display? Current supply chain leaks show Apple is finally hiding the Face ID sensors completely under the screen. That means no massive notch and no big dynamic island taking up your precious video space. Just one tiny little hole for the selfie camera. Apple is probably recreating all those dynamic island tricks entirely through the software, keeping your screen ridiculously clean. Clearing up the front display perfectly sets the stage for a gigantic upgrade hiding around the back. Rumor has it, Apple is actively testing a completely fresh 200-megapixel camera sensor. But wait, do not let that massive number trick you. Apple is not just throwing extra megapixels at the wall to brag about specs. This new sensor has one specific job, and that is fixing dynamic range. Instead of just making a photo file bigger, this camera is designed to aggressively capture all the bright highlights and super dark shadows at the exact same time. The end result, photos that finally look exactly like what your own human eyeballs are seeing in real life. Capturing that ridiculous amount of visual data creates another massive roadblock. Your phone needs absolute monster processing power to handle it without lagging or completely draining the battery. And that brings us to the next big piece of the puzzle. The anniversary iPhone is heavily rumored to launch with Apple's very first processor built on an advanced 1.4 nanometer process. When you pair that tiny super efficient chip with their next generation of Apple Intelligence features, you get blazing fast AI performance that barely even sips your battery life. Speaking of the battery, Apple is absolutely not stopping at the processor chip. Leaks are screaming that Apple is finally dumping the old graphite batteries we have relied on for years. They are shifting over to brand new silicon anode battery technology. Why? Because silicon can hold way more lithium energy, meaning you get hours of extra battery life without making the iPhone 20 look like a thick brick in your pocket. The only headache left is that silicon naturally physically expands when it charges up. Engineers have spent years fighting this expansion issue, but if they finally crack the code, it leads to the ultimate controversial final feature. If this super battery works out, Apple might just completely kill the charging port entirely. Gone. This phone could rely 100% on wireless charging. No holes means zero places for water and dust to get inside, making this the most durable waterproof iPhone ever created. But let's be honest here for a second, even with fancy structural glass and no charging port, you better pray to the phone gods you never accidentally drop it. Because if that solid glass masterpiece slips out of your hand, you better have a very fat piggy bank ready to get completely emptied out for the repairs. If even half of these wild leaks actually become reality, the iPhone 20, or maybe they call it the iPhone Ultra, is not just going to be a fun birthday party for the iPhone brand. It is going to completely reset and redefine what we expect a smartphone to look and feel like for the next decade. So, my big question to you is, would you actually spend your hard-earned money on a completely glass, buttonless iPhone 20? Let me know your honest thoughts down in the comments below. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.